Decentering Men is about decentering the patriarchal standards that conditioned women to believe our worth, our timelines, and even our choices should orbit around men. Decentering Men is choosing to step off the axis of men's approval and validation and instead root into our own voice, our own pace, and our own dreams. It's not about hating men or rejecting love. It's about rejecting the idea that love is the ultimate validation of a woman's existence. It's about realizing that marriage, children, or being chosen are not the sole markers of success of womanhood. When we decenter men, we reclaim our freedom to build lives that are full and meaningful, whether or not a man is in the picture. We stop asking, will a man like this version of me? And start asking, do I love this version of me? Decentering Men is a radical movement for women because it forces us to untangle our desires from what we were taught to desire. It gives us the space to find joy in our friendships, our work, our healing, our art, our quiet moments, without it all being reduced to a waiting room for love or a man. The more we decenter men, the more we actually create space for healthier, more aligned relationships. Because we're no longer negotiating our entire selves away for the sake of keeping one. And perhaps this is part of the reason why there is a male loneliness epidemic. For so long, men have been socialized to expect women to be their emotional anchors, their source of validation, and the center of their world, without ever being taught to reciprocate. When we women decenter men, we disrupt that imbalance. We stop carrying the weight of their self-worth on our backs. What we're seeing now is not just a loneliness epidemic, but the consequences of men never being required to build full, rich inner lives outside of being partnered or catered to by women. Decentering Men is not about punishing them. It's about liberating us. And in the process, it exposes the gaps men have long ignored in their own emotional and relational growth. The hope, though, is that this disruption could be an invitation. If women are no longer centering men, then men are being pushed to finally center their inner healing, to do the inner work, to build real friendships, to cultivate purpose beyond being taken care of by a woman, to show up in relationships as self-sufficient, whole people rather than as dependents. Decentering Men isn't anti-love. It's pro-self. If that exposes a loneliness crisis, let it. Because real connection can't grow where women are used as life support. True connection only exists when both people are centered in themselves first. Women stepping out of orbit isn't the apocalypse. It's a recalibration. If that reads as loneliness for men, let that truth sting. Connection requires two centered people, not a woman being the sole caretaker. If you're wondering where I'm reading from, that is something I wrote that can currently be found on my Instagram page, and I have a Threads account, but this was written a while back and I'm just not speaking on it. And if you would like more of my insights, I have a book out called This Is For You, So Much to Unlearn Plus Relearn, that is linked in bio. I also have journals and other books out as well. Check all that out at my link tree linked in the description. And so as you know from clicking on this title, you know that today we're going to be talking about decentering men. Decentering men has become a buzzword, if you will, and you hear it everywhere. But I'm starting to see some people misconstrue what it actually means. So in today's episode, we're going to talk about what decentering men really means, where it came from, why it's important, the challenges you may face when trying to decenter men in a patriarchal society, and how to work through those challenges, and how to date while still decentering men. The term decentering men was first coined by writer and creator Charlie Taylor. In 2019, she wrote an article for the Medium platform called Decentering Men, Why You Should Let Go of Men. And in that article, Charlie defined decentering men as a practice of undoing the ways patriarchy has taught women to prioritize men's attention, validation, and comfort over their own selfhood. She continues on to say that noticing where you've organized your life around obtaining or pleasing a man and learning to redirect that energy back toward yourself. And so, in other words, decentering men is to stop using men's approval and validation as a mirror for your worth. Centering man is essentially centering yourself. It's no longer caring about what a man thinks, what a man may like or not like. And anyway, you can't please a whole collective of men. Because in order to do so, that means you are self abandoning. That means that each and every time you meet a particular man, you are then morphing into whoever you then need to be for that man to want you, choose you, and want to be with you. You're not fully being yourself. And so, decentering man is basically like a call for you to come home to yourself. It's about not making your life all about finding a man, being in love, having romance, and having a relationship or being married. It's about you finding fulfillment in other areas of your life. It's about living a full and rich life. Decentering men matters so much because for centuries, women have been taught to live as supporting characters in men's stories. We've been conditioned and brainwashed to measure success by relationship status, to equate desirability with worth, and to view love and romance as like the ultimate validation. When you decenter men, you are taking back the authorship of your story. You are creating a lifestyle for yourself where you are making decisions based on your goals and not on what man may find you or your goals appealing. You're doing what feels right for you and your life without caring what a man may think about it. You are pursuing happiness that is not dependent on you having a man or dependent on you being chosen by a man. And most of all, decentering man, it's about you creating a life for yourself that is so fulfilling that love complements it, not completes it. Decentering man is actually a lifestyle. It's not just a phase you do when you're tired of men or you've been badly hurt by men and need a break from men and dating. Decentering men should be a way of life for all women. And that goes for women that are married, women that wish to find love, women that want romance, women in a relationship. All women should decenter men at all times in their lives. And I feel like this is a huge misconception when it comes to decentering men. I find that often women will decenter men while they're single and, have like their break, maybe even be abstinent, maybe even no longer date or be on the dating apps. They take a full break and they just really discover themselves while they're single, only for them to start centering men again once they get in a relationship or start to try to find love. It doesn't work that way. Decentering men should be a way of life for all women at all times. Decentering men is so important for all women to do because when you think about it, y'all, for centuries, women have been conditioned to make men the focal point of their lives. We've been told that we need to get married, we need to settle down, we need to have kids, that was like the pivotal moment for womanhood. We women have been taught to live as like supporting characters in men's stories instead of making ourselves the center of our own stories. We should be the main character in our own stories. Love should complement our lives, not complete it. It's time we women stop equating our worth to being chosen, to being desired. There is so much more to us as women than what a man thinks about us, than being chosen, than being in love, than having romantic relationships, than having kids. There's so much more to us than that title of wife or mom. We can't abandon ourselves. It is up to us to create a full life for ourselves and then let love find us at that point. Because think about it. If love finds you before you have found yourself, then you will find yourself subscribing to whatever life that man says that you should have, whoever you should be, instead of who you want to be, instead of who you truly are. You're now all about love, relationships, marriage, and whatever that man needs in his life. And that is the quickest way to lose yourself. So when you just center men, you learn to have self-trust versus having self-doubt. And self-trust becomes your emotional baseline. instead of you worrying about what a man may like or what a man may not like or how you should be for a man to want you and choose you. You instead are rooted in your self-trust. You trust that you are enough just the way you are, and if that man doesn't like it, then so be it. When you are rooted in who you are, then you meet a man who is also rooted in who he is. That lets you know that you two are truly compatible because you're both truly being yourself. You have made a life for yourself. So, in all honesty, decentering men can actually create more fulfilling relationships for women. I remember when I first began to decenter men. It was when I was 29. I'm 39 now, so 10 years ago. I was 29, fresh out of my toxic relationship, the second toxic relationship that I had, y'all. And I was just like, I can't continue on my life like this. I remember some friends that I worked with got with me and said, hey, we're going to go on a cruise to the Bahamas. Do you want to go? And y'all, I instantly thought to my boyfriend at the time. I still instantly thought to him and like, well, he may not want me going on this trip. He's kind of insecure. He's probably going to tell me I can't go. I don't know. My mind instantly went to what he would want and what he would say before I even answered for myself. And I was like, yeah, I don't know. But then I snapped out of it and I was like, he's doing whatever the hell he wants to do. He had been cheating on me. He's done numerous bad things to me. Why am I worried about what he thinks and what he wants? Because I was still wanted to be chosen by him. I wanted him to change for me. And I felt like if I go on this trip, if I become this independent woman, then he's never really going to want me. I thought that if I remained a quote unquote good woman, then I could keep him around and he would change. That was my thought process. But I was slowly coming out of that because I started to think like, well, he's doing whatever he wants. We've been together for years, about a year or two now, and nothing's changed. And then I told my friends, yeah, count me in. I'm going on that trip. And so I went on a trip and I got my life on that trip, y'all. My first time ever been on an airplane at 29 years old. My first time ever being out of the country. I enjoyed myself so much on that trip. And it got me to thinking like, there's this big old world out here. And here I was sitting at home, distraught and worried about a nothing ass man. A man that was doing nothing at all for my life. A man that was only causing me hell, cheating on me, hurting me. I was worried about that compared to this big world out here that I can be discovering for myself. And so it hit me. And I'm like, you know what? I need more of this in my life. And so I told myself from here on out, this is what I want to do. This is going to be a goal of mine. I want to travel. I had gotten to a point in my life that I decided that I need to make goals for myself. My only goal in life can't be to find a husband, be married, and have kids. Because think about it. If I'm making that my life goal, that means that someone else is in control of my destiny. That means I have to wait to live my life. That means I have to wait for the right man to come along before I can ever complete a goal. So I got to thinking like, what kind of life is that for me to live? It's time for me to set some goals for myself that I want to achieve for myself because I'm important too. And what I want is important. That man ain't all that important, and I can't sit around waiting on the right man to come into my life to have goals met, to start living life. And so at 29, I just said, yep, time to decenter men. And like I said, at that time, I had never heard of the term, didn't know what it meant. I just knew that something shifted in my spirit, that something changed, something had to change. And so I started setting goals for myself. I said, I want more of this traveling. And I decided that I was going to set a trip for my 30th birthday. I said that I can join travel groups and travel with someone so I'm not traveling alone because I wasn't going to wait on friends or family or anyone to go see the world. This is what I wanted to do. And so I said that I'm going to find travel groups that I can travel with because I had a cousin that was doing that. I said, if anything, I can find other cruises to go on to other countries so I won't feel so alone and I will be with a travel group on a cruise. You know, I had my whole mind made up that this is how I'm going to start traveling and seeing the world. This is a goal of mine. And then unexpectedly, in walks my husband, y'all. I met my husband at 29, really like a month after that trip. And so when I met him, I was already on this journey of decentering men. I got to do my life for me. It's time. I spent all of my 20s living my life for nothing as men. It's time to live for me. And so when I met my husband, I'm like, I already had in my head what I planned to do. And I'm like, if he ain't with it, then oh well, he ain't with it. And so got to know him, wasn't expecting to like him, wasn't expecting him to become someone in my life that was going to be a constant. I was not expecting to even marry him. I wasn't expecting any of that because I had gotten to a point of like, I don't care if he does, if he ain't. It is what it is. You know, I got this good life going for myself. I got these goals I need to do. You know, it is what it is if he doesn't if he doesn't fit that. And so got to know him, told him my plans for my 30th birthday, that I wanted to go somewhere. It was either the Virgin Islands or either going to California because I've always wanted to go, never been. We ended up going to California, and I said that's where I wanted to go. Told him about it. He had some financial things going on in his life because he was in the process of getting a new car, and he also just started a new job and all of that. I already had all that. You know, I had establishment on my job, had my own place, had a car, all of that. He was still getting on his feet. But I'm like, this is what I'm going to do. And if you don't go, and if you can't go, that's okay. I'm going. I didn't say it like that, but I'm thinking in my head, like, that's all right. I even told my sister, like, hey, if he don't go, you want to come along with me? And we're going, you know? And so I don't know how my mom knew, but my mom somehow knew that this was going to be the one. She also knew when my exes weren't shit and weren't going to be the one, but she knew when this was the one. And she told my little sister, oh, that man going with her on that trip, best believe it. And my little sister was like, she just met him. He may not go. She told me. And I'm thinking like, mama, you don't know. He got some lot of stuff going on. He may not go. That man went. My husband went with me. And help fund the trip, you know? So I'm like, okay, that let me know that we were compatible because I've already set my own life up. I already had my plans to travel, to do what I want to do. And he joined right in. I didn't have to shift my life. Let's say if I was not decentering men, that I only decentered men while I was single, I would have switched my plans around for traveling to accommodate him. You know, I would have been like, well, he don't really got it, so I can't travel. I got a man now. I shouldn't be going anywhere. You know, that would have been my thought process. But actually, in reality, with the way that he is set up, he was not going to allow me to accommodate him in that way. If it's something I wanted, he was going to push for me to do it. That's another thing I love about him. But anyway, so I told him of my dreams of traveling, that right before I met him, that's what I was on and that's what I was liking to do. And we went to a lot of different places together. That was his first time at the beach when we went to LA. And so we planned more trips, and we have done more trips and gone more places. We go somewhere like every year. In the beginning when we met, we was going somewhere like maybe 2 or 3 times a year because, you know, times were different back then. But now we go somewhere at least once a year. We're always planning the trip. We're always going somewhere. Even if it's not out of the country. He knows that that's my thing. I like to travel. And so he has joined in with me. And that's how the centering men should be. The centering man is not saying that you don't want love, that you don't want romance, that you hate men. It's just reclamation of yourself. It's just you no longer self-abandoning yourself for love or a man. It's you no longer orbiting around what a man wants. You're no longer the supporting character in his life. It's you two living life together. And once you determine what you want for yourself and your life and your goals, and you stick with that no matter what, you are successfully decentering men. And you can continue to decenter men, any man, once you get into a relationship with a man. In fact, you should always decenter a man, even in a relationship, even if you want love, even if you're married. I'm married and I'm still decentering men. My choices are always based on what I want for myself. And now, yes, of course, there will be some things that you have to have regards to your family. I'm not saying to disregard your family if you have kids or your husband totally. I'm saying that you should not build up your life, build up what you want for yourself around what he wants. If you want to go to school, then go to school. If you want to start a platform like I did, do that. Whatever you want to do, do it. My choices in how I live my life and how I do me are my choices. All the way down to how I do my makeup, what I wear, how I do my hair, what I what I do for a living. It's all boils down to me choosing that for myself. And really, a man that truly loves you and wants to be a complement to your life, he wants to add to your life. He is not going to ask you to water yourself down. He is not going to ask you to shrink. He's not going to expect that of you. And so when you're dating and you're decentering men, it is important to find a man or to be with a man that doesn't need you to make him the center of your life in order for him to feel needed. Some men have this ego thing where they don't feel needed, then they don't feel they belong in their relationship with you. They don't feel good about themselves because you don't need them. It's not about you needing a man. It's more so about you being with a man that can add to your life. It's about you wanting a man. It's about you being with a man that you can live with, not a man that you feel you can't live without. And so I know it may be challenging for some women to decenter men because it makes you feel uncomfortable at first, because you feel like that you are never going to find a man, that means you're going to be alone, that means you don't want love, that means you're never going to have marriage, never going to have kids. You know, it makes you feel like that if you're not centering men and centering romance and marriage, that it can't be yours. But the opposite is actually true. Think about it like this. Let's say if you did center men and center marriage, and center having a relationship. Let's say if you continue to make that the center of what you want in your life. I promise you that if you are centering a man, you are not going to like the men that are attracted to that. You are not going to be happy in a relationship with a man that wants you to center him or needs you to center him. You are going to abandon yourself. Yes, you may be chosen. Yes, that man may want to be with you. But under what terms? He's going to have the impression that your life is all about him. That you're all about pleasing him and making him happy. That you're all about making space for him in your life. He's going to become accustomed to that. And so I'm telling you, you are not going to like or be happy with the men that choose you based off you centering them. And so we have to recondition our mindsets around what it means to be in relationship with a man. It doesn't mean you lose yourself. If anything, a man should add to your life to where you can still be yourself and he enjoys you being yourself. Because when you center yourself, relationships are actually more fulfilling for women that way, because you're not in that relationship or marriage feeling like that you are losing yourself. And so when you decenter men and you have like this attitude of like, I'm okay if it works, I'm okay if it doesn't work, I'm okay with or without a man, you have that attitude more so about it. That means you're not just settling for any man that comes along. That means that you are making space for the right man to come along. And sure enough, it may take time, but wouldn't you rather take time to find a man that can fit into your life versus rushing into just anything with a man and then abandoning yourself, losing yourself? That's something that I vowed to myself that I would never do again, is lose myself in a relationship, because I didn't like how it felt. I never want to feel that way again. I never want to feel like that my whole life is about this man, making sure that this man is happy, making sure this man wants to always choose me, making sure this man doesn't leave me. I'm not basing my life on that anymore. And then when you start to create this good, well-lived life for yourself, this fulfilling life where you have community, you have your goals, you have your art, you have whatever it is you love to do, you have all these things of fulfilling life outside of a relationship or a man, You are okay with that man not being it and being able to fit in that. You have such a wonderful life, a good life. Yeah, you may get a little lonely sometimes, but other than that, you have a good life. You have goals and things going for yourself that you know that if this man is not the one, he doesn't work out, he doesn't fit your life, then you can go on back to living your happy life, doing you, on to the next. And so, some common misconceptions about decentering men. One is being that talking about men means you are still centering men. That is false. Discussing the patriarchy is not centering men. It's you naming a system that trains you to do so. And in every case, the patriarchy should be called out. You should be naming it and calling that out. That doesn't mean that you are centering men. You are still decentering men, and you are aware of what's going on. Another misconception is one that I've talked about a little already, is that decentering man means that you can't want a relationship or that you can't date. You can absolutely decenter men and still want love. It's just that now you've determined that you want a more healthy love, a more mutual love, a supportive love. The difference is now that love no longer dictates your life and dictates who you are. Love no longer defines your identity. Decentering men does not mean that you cannot date. It just changes how you date. You are now dating from a place of fullness, not from a place of, I need a man to fulfill my life. I need a man to fulfill a void. You're now dating to share your overflow. You're dating for a partner. Okay, because looking back, I realized that in my past toxic relationships in my 20s, I was definitely dating for a man to fill a void in my life. I felt love depleted because I didn't have the adequate amount of love and support and emotional connection I needed in my childhood. So I went out into the world in my 20s looking for that, still looking for a man to fill that void. But no one can fill that void. No one can erase what happened in your childhood. You can't find a man to love that out of you. And you cannot love yourself through chasing a man. And without me realizing it, I was looking for a man to heal me because I felt like love had to be earned, and love was always conditional in my upbringing. It's like when I got to my 20s and was out here dating, I was trying to, in a sense, recreate the same dynamics from my childhood. So dating men that were emotionally unavailable felt familiar. It felt like that's who I needed to date in order to prove myself and to earn their love. And so I was for sure dating to fill voids. I was for sure dating from a place of trauma, not a place of fullness. And so when you get to a point to where you've healed that in you, it makes it easier to decenter men because you no longer feel like you have to rely on a man in order to feel good about yourself, in order to heal. You no longer are relying on love from a man or love from or romance from a relationship to make you feel worthy and good about yourself. And so once you heal that need that you have for them, it's a bit easier to decenter men, if you will. Because now you are able to center yourself because you've healed yourself. You healed how you feel about yourself. And so now you are better equipped to date from a place of fullness. Also, another important factor when decentering men while dating is that you have to keep your emotional center with you. And what I mean by that is you can't hand over your sense of safety that you've created for yourself. You can't hand over your validation that you've created for yourself to whatever man that you're dating at the time. That means, let's say, if that man doesn't follow his word, he doesn't text back like he said he would, you cannot become devastated over that. You have to instead look at it as data about the type of man that he is. Okay, so if he is a man that doesn't text back like he said he was, or he is being inconsistent, that is data about who he is. That is not data about who you are or who you need to be in order for him to be consistent. Keep your safety with you. If you have successfully decentered men, then you're going to keep the safety with you. That means that you are going to rely on your own safety and validation. You are going to rely on your self trust, rely on your standards that you've created for yourself. You know that your standard is you want a man who is consistent. And so if that man is not being consistent, then therefore you know, okay, he can't meet my standards. Next. Decentering men while dating also means that you are not dating potential. You are assessing his character, his consistency, and his values, not who he has the potential to become. You're staying grounded in reality and not some fantasy or not the potential of who you believe he could be. Because the moment you start dating that man's potential, you are really centering him. You're now no longer decentering men while dating because you are slowly becoming so focused on this man meeting his potential, this man becoming who you want him to be for you. You're focused in on that and you're losing focus of self and what you want for yourself because you're focused on this man's potential. Potential isn't real. So to successfully decenter men while dating, you have to stay rooted in who you are and what you want and know that if he cannot meet your needs, your standards, that he only has potential and he's not actually being who you need, then you have to move on. You don't want to stay somewhere too long that doesn't really meet your needs because now you are centering him. What you want and your needs don't matter. You are slowly betraying yourself and slowly self-abandoning. When you are decentering men and you're dating, it is also important to choose men who are centered as well. It is important to look for men who are emotionally available, self-aware, men who are grounded and not threatened by your autonomy. These are going to be men who respect your boundaries, encourage your independence, communicate openly. He values partnership and not control. This is going to look like a man who is not threatened by who you are as a woman overall. He's not threatened by your standards or what you want for yourself. He's going to love you like it's easy. He's not going to nag you or do little digs at you about how you live your life. Think of it as like you doing life your way and a man simply joining in. A man that enjoys you being you, that is not going to ask you to change or ask you to situate your life to where he can fit in. If that's the case, then he's not for you. I feel like when you begin to make compromises, then that man is not compatible for you. I just feel like if there's a lot of compromising going on, a lot of negotiating going on, you two are not in alignment with each other. You two are not compatible. And it's better to not force that. When you're dating while decentering men, it's not that you are rejecting intimacy. It's you inviting a healthier version of it. That is ultimately what it means and how you should go about dating while decentering men. That's the mindset that you should have when it comes to dating and decentering men. Decentering men isn't about rejecting love, girlfriends. It's about women rejecting self-abandonment. It's women remembering that we are the center of our own lives and that any man that joins in our lives should add peace, not disrupt it. You can want love and still decenter men. You can desire partnership and still prioritize yourself. You can be soft and open and still be solid in who you are. Real love never asks you to lose yourself. If it does, it's not real love. And when you begin to decenter men and make that a lifestyle versus just a phase, and then you decide to date, it will become easier for you to tell which men still uphold the patriarchy and which man does not. There are some men that do not subscribe to the patriarchy in a sense when it comes to romance. They're not looking to control or dominate a woman. They're looking for a partnership with a woman. I find that men that want a very traditional type of wife, those are the men that are upholding the patriarchy. They want a woman to do everything around the house, plus take care of him and the kids. They are looking for women to bend over backwards and do all the work, to be a servant. That is not fulfilling for you at all. But if you are not decentering men and you are making your whole life based on finding a man, finding a husband, then that's what you're going to end up with. You're going to end up in a marriage to where he is the center because you centered him to begin with. That's how you met him, because you were centering men. So it doesn't feel foreign to you when a man expects a woman to be the traditional type of woman. It feels right because you, in your mind, have centered men. It only begins to feel tiresome and wrong once you are in that marriage and have been in it for like years. And you slowly begin to lose yourself. And only then is when you realize that maybe you should not have centered men. Now you don't know who you are. Now you're trying to find yourself. And then when you begin to do that while in a relationship or marriage with a man, he looks at you as like, oh, you're changing. And then you all no longer are compatible. That's why it is so necessary to decenter men as a lifestyle. Because historically we have been taught to always center men. We have been socialized that way. But look where it's gotten us. So know that you can decenter men and still date. You can decenter men and still have the love that you want. Just know that it's going to be an even better love, an even more fulfilling love. Decentering men doesn't mean you're becoming hard or cold to love. It doesn't mean you hate men. It doesn't mean that you don't want a man ever. It doesn't mean that you're never ever going to have a man. It just means that you are making space for the right man, because you want a man that is going to add to your life, not become your whole life. So ladies, if you're not decentering men, why not? That's the question that you should ask yourself. And maybe you're not ready to decenter men, because there are so many challenges that come with decentering men, you know? And that's understandable. There's like the societal pressure, the pressure from your family, from people asking why you don't have a man yet, people making you feel like you are inadequate because you are not in a relationship. It can be hard to navigate those feelings because it makes you feel guilty or like something is wrong with you. It is hard to sit with those feelings. But I want you to always come back home to yourself and realize that you want something real, that you're not just going to jump into anything with any man just to say that you have someone. And that can even be your rebuttal to anyone asking why you don't have a man yet. That can be your time to say, because I'm not just going to be with any man in just any old marriage. I want to take my time. I want to enjoy my life. I want to find happiness for myself and have a man join in on that. And till then, I'm going to enjoy my life. I haven't found anyone yet, but that's okay. You have to stay rooted in who you are and stay away from people like that. You know, have a community of women that understand what it means to decenter men, that understand that you want a life for yourself, that understand that you're not just going to jump into any relationship just to say you have a man, you know? So, I understand the challenges, ladies, and I understand that sometimes you may fall back into centering men because, you know, men can be manipulative out here. But the goal is for you to recognize it sooner than later and then center yourself. You can always begin to center yourself again if you forget. Okay? So, I hope that helps. And I hope that heals. As always, you can find my one-on-one mindset and intuitive coaching linked. Also have books out. My latest book with more of my insights would be This Is For You, So Much to Unlearn Plus Relearn. Volume 2 will be coming soon. And I'm going to make that talking more about men and the conditioning that we have from the patriarchy and men. So, be on the lookout for that next year sometime. But that's all I got for this podcast episode, girlfriends. Tune in Sunday for Healing Sundays only on YouTube. Until then, peace out.